Hello and welcome to Frank's School. Here are some open-air museums. This is a rundown of what I'm going to be talking about on October 19th, 2014, in a speech at Messiah Lutheran Church in Dutch Corner, 2 o'clock. For those of you that have never come to Frank's School before, here's the way these numbers go. This is the 4th year I've been doing this. This is the 31st day, and this is the first video. Actually, really, this should be I think this is the 30th day, and this is the second video, actually. I think. Oh well. In any case, I'm doing it now because in the newspaper there was an article, and I think it referred you to here. So welcome if you've come. In the course of the speech, I'm going to go sort of in chronological order in my lifetime experience. I'll start with, and I'll be brief. I have to be brief about all of these because there's too many. I'll start with Old Bedford Village, Old Sturbridge Village, to which my mother took me as a child. She introduced me really to open-air museums. Oh, and I'll probably explain a little bit about what is this concept of open-air museums. The concept began in Norway over 100 years ago, and there are many, many of them in Northern Europe. And there's quite a few in the United States. Southern Europe doesn't have very many. Eastern Europe, I'm told. I was told once by a man on an airplane, he said, he would travel a lot, he said, in Eastern Europe, every little town has one. Well, anyway, Old Sturbridge Village, I saw it as a boy. That's the first time I think I ever really saw a water wheel in operation. And it had a big effect on me. So thanks, Mom, I guess. The Shelburne, then I eventually I went there several times, and later I began to make it a goal to visit as many of these as I could. Shelburne Museum is in Vermont. I don't remember it as clearly, and I was not as impressed, but I was glad I went to it. It's very famous, northern Vermont. Colonial Williamsburg, I went to. That was just between the time that I graduated from Harvard and that I went into the Peace Corps. There were a few weeks there, and one of the things I did was go down. I wanted to see it. It's extremely well financed, well endowed, and so was Old Sturbridge Village. But I was blown away by how much money was available at that time there. Mystic Seaport is in Connecticut, and I took my family there. It's very good. Recently, now here I jump out of order because very recently, within a few months ago, I went to the National Colonial Farm, which is a little south of Washington. It was a disappointment, partly because it was so poorly financed. It seemed to be. It didn't really measure up to the other ones I'd seen, but I don't necessarily fault it. I think it just didn't have the backing. And there's an ecosystem farm or something like that there, which again, you know, as part of the open-air museum, this is not historic. Usually open-air museums are historic in some way. This is not really historic, but I don't think they have to be. But anyway, I went to them. These are missing. I have never gone to Jamestown, and I probably should, Jamestown, Virginia. I've never gone to Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I probably should. I think that they are both very good open-air museums. Cold Spring, it's odd to see that there probably for some of you that know it. It's in Pennsylvania near Punxsutawney. And it's a collection of gas engines from the gas fields. And it's really only open as a museum, I think, 4 weekends a year, if I'm correct. And it's different, but not really. I think of it as an open-air museum. And my reason for going there, well, I didn't know exactly what I was going to see. But anyway, I'll mention that briefly. That's in Pennsylvania. Now, going to Europe. To get this in order, I really should jump to the Museum of Decorative Arts in Lisbon. I've been there twice now. Twice. Once when I'd been in the Peace Corps for 2 years and was able to come home, and on the way came through Europe. Museo de Arte Decorativa. Connected with that museum is a whole collection of shops where craftsmen are able to make things of the quality that they were made in the 18th century, and it just blew me away. Back that would have been 1960, 1971, 70, I think, 1970, and I never forgot it. And about 3 years ago or so, I was back in Lisbon, and I made it a point to go there again. Now it's not outside, but I'll probably have a little bit to say about it. The Quinta Pedagógica in Braga, Portugal. Quinta is like a small holding or a small farm. Pedagógica, pedagogical. It is not at all famous, and would maybe not even think of itself as an open air museum. It's wonderful. It's a very small farm that is used to teach elementary school kids the traditional farming of that area of northern Portugal, which involves the raising of many different crops and many different animals on a very small space. That's what a quinta or a quintal is. I'll speak about it some. If you online, if you went to go find that, I'm not so sure how much luck you would find that, because you might find almost nothing in English. But on my website, in Frank School, there's a lot of footage of Shirley Hockling and I walked around it on a Sunday afternoon and filmed it. Now Gifhorn is now we're in Germany. Gifhorn is where the International Windmills and Watermills Museum is, and it was unbelievable. I created a playlist in Frank School. You could just click on Gifhorn and see it. Detmold, also in Germany. The biggest open-air museum in Germany. It's mostly farms. Absolutely wonderful. All of these European ones were unbelievable. And again, I created a playlist. Now it's me walking around filming details. You know, it's not like a professionally made thing. But if you really want to see what's there, or what did I see, what did I like, well, there. Hagen is also in Germany. It's about basically early industry, when it was still water power, but it was industrial, and just incredible. A playlist devoted to Hagen. Arnhem is now in the Netherlands, Holland, and it's bigger and more expensive than either of these three, much more expensive than either of these three in Germany. Better, I'm not so sure, but it is huge. It's the national open-air museum for Holland. It's worth it to go there. If you're ever in Holland, take the train, go to Arnhem, go visit it. It's really something. And there's a playlist about it. Balsberg, again, this is not quite in chronological order. I had already been to Balsberg 2 years before. This is in Switzerland, and it is equally wonderful. I'm not so sure I did a playlist yet for Balsberg. Maybe I'll set about doing that this week. But I was there with my daughter Erica, and didn't have time to see the whole thing. But I filmed a lot, and I'll see if I can put that together as a playlist. It is on the in Frank School. I mean, if you just go searching and looking, you can find it, which I recommend, because you'll also see the context of what you'll see a lot of beautiful Switzerland in that area. All right, then finally, after having dealt with the United States and dealt with Europe, basically, I'm going to talk some about Old Bedford Village. When Old Bedford Village opened, I was the crafts program director on its opening day, and we had quite a few craftsmen working there. And I'll speak about it. It's important in its own way, although it's not really on a par with, partly for finances, it's not on a par with most of these others. And then finally, I'm going to come to Dutch Corner and talk about Dutch Corner. In a way, as an open-air museum, the whole of Dutch Corner. Not really, but it maybe could be, and of sorts. And I'll also talk about what I have been doing, in a way, all my life. But more recently, since my mother died, for maybe about the last 6-8 years especially. But what I've been doing here on this farm, and a collection of things that I have that are worth looking at. And I'll make the connection to Old Bedford Village and its crafts program, and also to the Museum of Decorative Arts and its craftsmen. And this will be very much about craftsmen. All right, I think tomorrow already I'm going to be going outside and making a prospectus about my efforts here. But I've done my part related to the newspaper. If you want to go on and know more about this part, well, it'll probably be, if I have the number right, it'll be 4.31.1 or 2 tomorrow. See you then.